Amelia and Ethan had been the quintessential office couple. 4 years ago, their relationship had blossomed over stale coffee and shared late nights at OmniCorp, a mid-sized marketing firm. Their love was a legend in the break room. Constant inside jokes, Ethan bringing Amelia her favorite lavender tea, their desks facing each other like two orbiting satellites. But 4 years is a long time for a flame to burn at maximum intensity. Lately, their orbit had become erratic. "It's just the stress of the quarterly report, Ethan. Why are you blowing this out of proportion?" Amelia argued, her voice a low, frantic hiss in their shared apartment. "Amelia, we've had this fight 3 times this week. It's not the report. It's us," Ethan said, running a hand through his perpetually messy hair. "We don't talk anymore. We just argue. Every conversation is a minefield." The arguments, once rare and quickly resolved, became their default setting. The weight of accumulated disagreements, expectations that hadn't been met, and a silent, growing resentment finally tipped the scales. One miserable Saturday afternoon, sitting on their worn sofa, Amelia whispered the words first. Maybe we just need to stop." Ethan, his eyes rimmed with exhaustion and genuine pain, didn't fight it. Yeah, maybe we do." The breakup was clean, but the pain was a raw, searing wound for both of them. The first few weeks were agony. Ethan moved into a temporary apartment, and the silence in his new place was deafening. Every time he walked past Amelia's old desk at OmniCorp, now conspicuously empty while she worked from home, his chest tightened. He missed her laugh, her meticulous organizational skills, even the way she hummed off-key. But Ethan was a pragmatic person, a doer. He couldn't wallow. He threw himself into work, and then, impulsively, he signed up for a dating app. He wasn't looking for love, just a distraction, a proof that he could still feel something other than sorrow. That's how he met Chloe. She was 5 years his junior, bright, effervescent, and worked in tech support on the opposite side of town. Chloe was easy. She didn't have 4 years of baggage or an encyclopedic knowledge of his flaws. Their dates were light-hearted. Museums, quirky food trucks, simple laughter. Within a month, Ethan was officially dating Chloe, enjoying the uncomplicated newness of it all. Amelia's process was the opposite of Ethan's. She tried. She deleted the apps he'd downloaded on her phone. She went out with friends. But every corner of her life was infused with Ethan. Their jobs made it impossible to achieve the distance she desperately needed. She saw him in the parking garage, his briefcase slung over his shoulder, a spring in his step she hadn't seen in months. She overheard colleagues whispering about his cute new girl. The thought of Ethan moving on while she was still paralyzed by the memory of him was a poison. It curdled her sadness into a frantic, sickly sweet paranoia. She convinced herself that Chloe was a fling, a rebound he'd regret, and that she just needed to wait it out. But then, waiting turned into watching. First, it was subtle, checking his last active time on internal company chat, walking past his desk just to see the new ceramic mug he used. Then it escalated. Amelia created an anonymous social media profile and found Chloe. She spent hours scrolling through her photos, dissecting every caption, comparing Chloe's bright, genuine smile to her own forced, miserable expression in the mirror. She knew where Chloe worked, the coffee shop they frequented, and the time Ethan picked her up on Fridays. She wasn't trying to win him back. She was trying to prove he shouldn't be happy without her. Amelia returned to the office full-time, a coiled spring of anxiety and bitterness. The workplace, once a sanctuary of their shared history, became her hunting ground. Every minor interaction was a pretext for a confrontation. If Ethan's presentation went well, she'd corner him by the printer. "You used my formatting template, didn't you, Ethan? You can't even stand on your own 2 feet professionally without me." If he looked tired, she'd sneer, "Late night with your little intern?" Don't forget what a real relationship costs, Ethan. She'll get bored when you can't buy her expensive things anymore. Ethan tried to remain professional, issuing clipped, neutral responses. This is a work matter, Amelia. Please stop. The breaking point came during a Monday morning team meeting. Ethan was presenting a new strategy. Halfway through, Amelia stood up, her face flushed crimson. He's lying, she declared, pointing a trembling finger at Ethan. This whole concept is a watered-down version of the proposal I wrote 2 years ago that he dismissed. He's a fraud, just like he's a fraud in his personal life. The room fell silent. Her boss, Mr. Thompson, looked mortified. Ethan just stared at her, not with anger, but with a deep, crushing pity. The incident in the meeting was the final straw. For weeks, colleagues had been filing complaints about Amelia's erratic behavior, the hostile atmosphere she created around Ethan, and her inability to separate her personal life from her professional duties. Her work quality had plummeted, replaced by her all-consuming obsession. A few days later, Mr. Thompson called Amelia into his office. "Amelia," he said, his tone heavy with regret, "you've been a valued employee here for a long time, but the pattern of disruptive behavior, harassment of a fellow employee, and the outright insubordination during the team meeting, we can't overlook it." Amelia didn't argue. Her mind, ravaged by weeks of stalking and paranoia, felt strangely calm. She had pushed for a reaction, and this was it. "We have to let you go, effective immediately," Mr. Thompson concluded. "Security will escort you to your desk to collect your personal items." As she was being led out, Amelia caught one last glimpse of Ethan. He was standing by the water cooler, looking directly at her. There was no triumph in his expression, only a profound sadness, the look of a man watching a burning bridge finally collapse. He had moved on. She had broken down. Amelia left Omnicorp, walking out the glass doors and into the bright sunlight, completely alone, with the crushing realization that her attempt to destroy Ethan's new life had only succeeded in destroying her own. Amelia's firing from Omnicorp left a vacuum she couldn't fill with another job. Instead of finding new employment, she used her newfound time and the severance package to execute a terrifyingly sophisticated new phase of her obsession: narrative control. She couldn't physically be near Ethan, but she could be near his new reality. Amelia rented a small, nondescript studio apartment directly across the street from Chloe's downtown boutique apartment building. From her 5th-floor window, she had a perfect framed view of Chloe's entryway, and often Ethan's car arriving and leaving. She lived in the dark, windows always draped, her life reduced to the glow of computer screens and the binoculars trained on the street below. Her second obsession became the creation of a massive, anonymous social media account dedicated to exposing the truth about corporate and personal betrayal. She named the account at OmniLeaks, using her vast insider knowledge of Ethan's work and personal history and fabricating evidence where needed. She began posting scathing, detailed blind items about a highly successful Omnicorp executive who rose to power on stolen ideas and destroyed a decade-long relationship to pursue a much younger employee. The posts were just vague enough to be untraceable, but accurate enough to terrify Ethan and cause massive gossip at Omnicorp. Chloe, however, was not intimidated. She was a fiery spirit and intensely protective of Ethan. One afternoon, while Amelia was waiting across the street, she saw Chloe exit her building, clearly agitated. Chloe walked straight across the street, looked up at Amelia's window, and held up her phone. The screen was facing Amelia, and she could clearly read the words, "We know it's you. Stop." The direct confrontation stunned Amelia. She realized Chloe was fighting back, and she couldn't control the narrative if Chloe was involved. The obsession needed to be silenced permanently. Amelia drove out to the suburban hardware store Ethan and Chloe frequented for their new apartment renovations. She waited in the parking lot. When Chloe came out alone, carrying a heavy bag of supplies, Amelia backed her own car up suddenly, making the tires squeal and narrowly missing Chloe. This act of violence, crossing the line from digital harassment to physical threat, was the final evidence Ethan needed. The next day, Ethan walked into the police station. The restraining order arrived at Amelia's door, but this time it was hand-delivered by a police detective who warned her of immediate arrest if she violated the 500-foot distance or continued the online harassment. Amelia didn't open the door. She simply watched the reflection of the flashing police lights in the dark glass of her viewing window. The restraining order now just another challenge to overcome. The silence of the law was not a deterrent. It was the final trigger. The realization that she was still tethered to Ethan was a bitter pill, but instead of forcing herself to move on genuinely, Amelia chose to weaponize her lingering obsession. The restraining order had cut off her physical access, but she knew how to find a willing hand. She quickly found Derek, a man she met at a networking mixer. Derek was earnest, easily flattered, and crucially, possessed a protective streak that Amelia immediately recognized she could exploit. He was entirely unaware of Amelia's past or the restraining order. Amelia began weaving a new narrative for Derek, one where she was the tragic heroine, the brilliant corporate climber who had been betrayed and victimized by her ex-fiancé, Ethan, and his scheming younger mistress, Chloe. She fabricated lies with practiced ease, painting Ethan as financially reckless, emotionally abusive, and a manipulative liar who had actively sabotaged her career after she left him. She would show Derek old, carefully edited texts, twisting benign arguments into evidence of Ethan's cruelty. "It was awful, Derek," she'd confide over expensive wine, her eyes welling up convincingly. "He's obsessed with controlling me, and now he and his girlfriend are trying to destroy my reputation just because I tried to expose his unethical practices at Omnicorp. I'm afraid they'll do something worse." Derek, whose past included his own share of unfair treatment, took the bait completely. He saw Amelia not as a manipulator, but as a wounded victim who needed a strong defender. His initial sympathy quickly curdled into resentment and then outright hatred for the shadowy, abusive figure Amelia had created, a figure she explicitly named as Ethan. Once she had stoked his hatred, Amelia began her final, most dangerous phase. "I need your help, Derek," she whispered one night, feigning vulnerability. "I can't contact them because of the court order, but they won't stop harassing me. Can you just send a quick anonymous message, something to make them back off, just long enough for me to feel safe?" Derek, feeling heroic and protective, readily agreed. Using a new disposable phone provided by Amelia, he started sending threatening anonymous messages to Ethan and Chloe. The messages were chilling. To Ethan, "We know you're a thief. Get ready for your life to fall apart." To Chloe, "Stay away from him and Amelia. You're next." A text paired with a photo of the exterior of their apartment building. "The order won't protect you forever." Amelia never touched the phone, but she dictated every word. She watched Derek send the messages, basking in the power of having a willing surrogate carry out her venomous acts. The thrill of manipulating Derek and seeing her hatred manifest in actionable threats was a perverse balm for the pain of the restraining order. She had circumvented the law, and now her new man was her weapon. The veiled threats delivered through Derek hit Ethan and Chloe like a cold, calculated wave. At first, they were bewildered. The messages were anonymous, but the details, the intimate knowledge of their location, the menacing tone, felt eerily familiar, despite the restraining order. Chloe was the first to realize the pattern. "This isn't just some random troll, Ethan," she said, her voice tight with fear as she showed him a particularly chilling message. "You think the law protects you? Some things are above the law." Ethan, initially dismissive, grew cold when the photo of their apartment building appeared. "This is beyond crazy," he muttered, his jaw clenched. "It has to be Amelia. Who else would know so much and be this obsessive?" They immediately contacted the police again, providing the new phone number and the disturbing content of the messages, including the photo. The officer who had taken Ethan's initial report was sympathetic but cautious. "We'll investigate, Mr. Ethan," she assured them. "But anonymous threats can be hard to trace, especially if they're coming from a burner phone. The restraining order is for direct contact, not indirect threats unless we can prove who is behind them." Chloe, however, refused to simply wait. Her experience with Amelia's online campaign had taught her that inaction was dangerous. She began her own quiet investigation. She contacted old colleagues from Omnicorp, subtly asking if anything unusual had come to light regarding Ethan's department or any new, strange rumors circulating about her own past. She scoured niche forums and professional networks, searching for any whispers that matched Amelia's old patterns. Meanwhile, the fabricated OmniLeaks post about Ethan's department had indeed caused a stir. Internal investigations at Omnicorp began, causing stress and suspicion among Ethan's colleagues. Though the claims were baseless, the sheer volume of evidence Amelia had concocted made it difficult to immediately dismiss. Ethan found himself spending hours in meetings, defending his team and his integrity, all while battling the anonymous threats directed at him and Chloe. His focus at work was shattered, and the joy he had found in his new role was replaced by constant anxiety. The pressure mounted. Chloe started looking over her shoulder when she walked down the street. Ethan installed a new security camera system. Their evenings, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, were now punctuated by hushed conversations about safety protocols and dreading the next anonymous text. One evening, as they were trying to unwind, Chloe's phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unknown number. Hesitantly, she answered. It was a distorted, digitized voice, impossible to recognize, whispering, "You shouldn't have messed with Amelia. She always wins." The call immediately disconnected. Chloe dropped the phone, her face pale. "Ethan," she choked out, "I think we need to leave. I don't feel safe here anymore." 18 months later, the fear that had been their constant companion had finally receded into a manageable shadow. Chloe and Ethan had reinvented themselves, not just geographically, but professionally and personally. Their new home was a charming two-story bungalow in a quiet coastal town in Oregon. They went by their middle names now, Christopher and Eleanor. The security measures were still extreme: encrypted Wi-Fi, no shared social media, and mandatory monthly movements of their savings. But the tension that once defined their evenings was gone. Ethan had transitioned his skills into remote cybersecurity consulting for non-profits, a job that paid less but offered anonymity and genuine satisfaction. Chloe had found work as a digital content manager for a local art gallery, thriving in an environment far removed from the cutthroat corporate world. One cool, clear evening, as the Pacific breeze carried the scent of salt through their open kitchen window, Ethan prepared dinner. He turned to Chloe, who was setting the table, and instead of handing her a plate, he produced a small velvet box. "Chloe, these last 18 months have been the hardest, but also the most real. I know our life isn't what we planned, but it's ours. It's safe. Marry me. Let's make this new life permanent." Tears welled in Chloe's eyes. She didn't hesitate. "Yes, Ethan. Of course, yes." They celebrated their engagement quietly, the silver band on Chloe's finger, a bright promise of a future finally free of Amelia's shadow. They had done it. They had survived and started over. The discovery. Meanwhile, in a penthouse suite back in the city, Amelia was furious. The investigation into Ethan had hit a dead end months ago. No forensic accountant could trace the small, clean transactions he'd used for his escape. The case had gone cold. Derek had long since moved on, content with the professional vindication. But Amelia remained obsessed. Ethan had taken her job, but worse, he had taken her attention, her focus, and her emotional energy. He was supposed to be ruined and begging for mercy, not living happily ever after. One morning, while idly scrolling through old digital contacts, she saw a new local news link pop up on a low-security, obscure email chain related to Chloe's old gallery job. The headline read, "Local gallery manager Eleanor Evans engaged to partner Christopher." Amelia stared at the blurry photo accompanying the article. Christopher was holding Eleanor's hand, a ring clearly visible. Though he had grown his hair out and she wore glasses, there was no mistaking the shape of the faces, the way they smiled. It was Ethan and Chloe. They were not only alive and well, but happy. Amelia crushed the glass of water she was holding, shards scattering across her marble desk. The small cut on her palm didn't register. Her face was a mask of cold, white rage. No one takes her Ethan away from her. The corporate revenge wasn't enough. The professional ruin wasn't enough. Now she would destroy their happiness, their peace, and every single thing they held dear. After seeing the engagement news, a raw, consuming anger settled in Amelia's chest, chilling her far more than the thought of a broken heart. It was a cold, calculating fury. She reached out to Derek, her current boyfriend, the lie about visiting her ailing mother sliding easily off her tongue. Within hours, she had booked a flight and a small, anonymous hotel room, located a safe distance from the upscale neighborhood where Chloe and Ethan lived. She packed meticulously, leaving behind her life in a way that suggested a brief holiday, but tucked deep into a compartment of her suitcase, wrapped carefully in a velvet cloth, was the compact, lethal weight of a handgun. Her surveillance began immediately, conducted from the anonymity of her rented car. The days blurred into a pattern of slowly driving past their house. Every sighting of their shared laughter or their hands intertwined, seen only in brief passing glimpses, was a fresh pinprick of rage. They never noticed her car, a fleeting shadow on their quiet street. One evening, Amelia saw them preparing for an evening out. Ethan was waiting by the front door, adjusting his tie, while Chloe was gathering her purse. Amelia knew this was the moment. She parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs. She saw Ethan move to his car. Ethan was steaming the car's engine out, waiting for Chloe. Chloe was still inside, locking the door. Amelia moved with practiced, deadly focus. She approached the driver's side of the car just as Ethan paused to wait for Chloe. The air was thick and silent, broken only by the distant sounds of traffic. Ethan looked up, startled by the figure appearing suddenly at his window. Before he could process the recognition, Amelia had made her move. A sudden, sharp sound split the quiet night. Amelia did not wait to see the outcome. The flash of the muzzle was a brief, blinding light in the darkness. She spun around, the sound echoing in her ears, and ran back the way she came, moving like a ghost. She reached her car, drove away with terrifying composure, and vanished into the anonymity of the city's lights. Her flight back home was already booked for the early morning. She left no trace but the shock she brought to a quiet suburban street, leaving only the sound of a shattering future behind her.
Amelia stepped out of the taxi and onto her driveway. The jet lag felt less heavy than the crushing weight of her secret. The front door opened and Derek, her husband, was there, a welcoming smile stretching across his face. "Welcome home, darling. How was the trip?" She couldn't speak. The lie she had to live was a suffocating physical presence. She merely offered a pained shake of her head and walked straight past him, her suitcase wheels barely making a sound on the hardwood floor. She reached their bedroom, slipped inside, and heard the definitive click of the lock turning. Derek, his smile instantly replaced by a furrowed brow of worry, hurried to the door. He knocked gently. "Amelia? Is everything all right? You look terrible. Did something happen?" A small, muffled voice came back.
I'm fine, Derek.
"Just tired. Is your mom okay?" he asked, trying to keep his voice light. "She is," Amelia replied flatly. "Then what's wrong?" he pressed. A moment of silence, then, "I'm airsick. The flight was bumpy. I need rest." Unknowingly taking the excuse at face value, Derek sighed. He loved her, but he couldn't push if she was sick. "Okay, my love. Rest. I'll be in the sitting room." He retreated, settling back onto the sofa to continue his mindless video game. Inside the quiet room, Amelia was consumed by a torrent of guilt, regret, and sorrow. She still loved Ethan, a forbidden, painful love, and now he was gone because she had killed him. Her body was racked by silent sobs. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She reached for her phone. Despite the knowledge deep in her gut, she frantically scrolled through news feeds, searching for anything about Ethan. The headline hit her instantly, confirming the horrifying truth. Local businessman Ethan, last name, found deceased. The reality was a physical blow. Her eyes drifted to the drawer of her bedside table. Slowly, agonizingly, she reached out and pulled it open, revealing the gun. The same weapon she had used to silence Ethan forever. In the sitting room, the only sound was the electronic score of Derek's game. Then, a sudden, deafening blast. The sound of the gunshot echoed through the house, silencing the game and freezing Derek in terror. He knew exactly where it came from. Amelia. He scrambled to the bedroom door, frantically turning the handle. Locked. He slammed his body against the solid wood once, twice. On the third desperate shove, the door frame splintered, and the lock gave way, allowing him to stumble into the room. There, he found her. Amelia was dead. The gun had fallen from her lifeless hand. Beside her on the pillow were 2 crumpled pieces of paper, a note to Derek and a note to Chloe, both stained with tears and offering a final heartbreaking apology. Ambulance rushed in, taking Amelia's body away on a stretcher. As the ambulance lights flash and the medics prepare to take Amelia away, Derek clutches the letter she wrote. His tears fall onto the crumpled paper as he reads her final words. "Dear Derek, if you're holding this, it means I've finally stopped fighting a war I lost a long time ago. I am so deeply sorry. I spent every waking moment trapped in the past, hanging on to a version of Ethan that no longer existed. I couldn't move on, and I couldn't stand the thought of him moving on either. My refusal to let go of what was already lost turned into a darkness I couldn't control. I killed him. I took Ethan away because I was selfish and broken, and in doing so, I shattered everything. Chloe, I am so sorry for the hole I left in your life. I took the person you loved because I couldn't handle that he loved you instead of me. To both of you, Derek and Chloe, I am begging for a forgiveness I know I don't deserve. I wasted my life clinging to a memory, and I ended his because I was too weak to walk away. Derek, please don't be like me. Don't hang on to the tragedy. Let the ambulance take me and my regrets away, and find a way to breathe again. Forgive me for not knowing how to let go. Amelia.
But every stitch just bled instead. The tighter I hold, the faster it slips.